Once again, we're on YouTube again today, as well as Facebook. Social media is Facebook. And with that said, now three confirmed. We say shalom.
Shalom.
And we say shalom with enthusiasm, happiness. Shalom, of course, in Hebrew is peace. In English, we say shalom because here we are in the kingdom of shalom. We're also in the kingdom of shalom, which is the most powerful knowledge of peace in existence. Here in Miami, Florida, United States, we welcome all of those, all nations. We welcome you today. All nations who are able to tune in, even if it's the recording. We're on live stream on 3 different networks. We're on live stream on YouTube. We're on Facebook, social media. We're also on our conference line. We're not going to disclose. We're going to keep that number to ourselves. That way no one interrupts the full view of the recording that we have on video. We're recording on our social media's conference line on audio as well as video. We'll make that available if anyone wants that and they're not able to get YouTube or Facebook, then we'll offer them a copy of the recording on our conference line. Praise Yod.
Praise Yod.
As I said, we're in the United States of America, in a land that's spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, according to Revelation chapter 11 and verse 8. This land is also spiritually and biblically known as the land of the Amorites, as well as other nations that are now dwelling in this land from all over the world, all over the planet. Every nation is in this country, whether visiting or in citizenship. And all of them are illegal, no matter if they are claim to be citizens or not. Everyone dwelling in this land today is illegal. They're what is called illegal aliens. And that is except those that this land was given to by my arm. I'm your host of this video, as well as all others that those have been following and watching my live stream and recorded videos on these 3 social media networks. My name is on my forehead. It's celestial. It was also kept a secret for over 6,000 years now to this planet and to this world. My name is pronounced Yod-Kashimium, and that is celestials from another planet. You don't know me. I may look familiar to you because I've mingled with you on this planet. I blend in with your culture, as I was told to do incognito, as also my father did. And let me introduce you to my father. If you look over my head, you'll see an artifacts of who they call Micah, the prophet Micah. That means historically, biblically, and even in Hebrew culture of Israel, I'm known as Micah. Into the English, I'm known as Micah. Although I carried around with me, and I'm still carrying around with me, 7 angels. These 7 angels are being recorded, has been recorded and read in the book called Revelation. I carried these 7 angels around with me in the name that this world thought that I was named by that name. As you see over my head, it's known the Bible is the third book of the Bible, King James Version. That's Micah. Before I go any further, I'm being reminded, since I mentioned the word Bible, that you should take out your Bible. If you have a King James Version Bible, then take it out and follow us with this testimony. This is Revelation. I'm going to reveal a lot of things that are happening today. You'll also need something to write with and something to write on to take notes. If you have a Strong's Concordance, then grab it. You're going to need to look up some words that I'm going to reveal as part of this testimony of Revelation. If you don't have one, we're going to provide one for you on the same screen that you see over my head and back of me. We have a concordance that we'll share with this world. As I was saying, I'm known in the Bible today as Micah. I'm the very soul of who they say Micah the Mercite. Although that name is Oblivious. That name is only part of the name that my soul carried around for over 6,000 years, known as Mika Yahweh in English. Though we're not the gods of England, and we're not English, we're Hebrew. As I continue to introduce myself, the Council of Trent and theologians throughout history call it the theophoric extension of my name, theophoric, which means a name of a deity. It bears the name of a deity, theophoric. You can look it up, theophoric, ThePhoric, theophoric. Again, ThePhoric, theophoric. That's who's taking notes. Again, TheOphRic. Got it? Okay. That means when you look it up, it bears the name of a deity. The deity that they're referring to is known as the God of the Hebrews in the Tetragrammaton, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. Some may not have a dictionary. You want to go ahead and share our dictionary with them and look up theophoric so they'll know. TheOphRic. Theophoric. You have it?
We have it.
What does it say?
Bearing the name of a god.
Now, that means that now deity is the same as God. God's the same as deity. A few moments ago, just a few seconds ago, I told you what it means. My father, as he's speaking to me, you can't see him. I'm wearing an ear pod that you cannot see in my ear. It's in my mind. He is speaking to me and told me to look it up for you so you can see that I speak the truth. That way, when I identify myself to you as the spirit of truth, then you know it's me. I speak the truth. I am not the truth. That's my father. I'm going to introduce you to him momentarily, although you already know him as God. But I have to introduce myself first as the host. That's who you see physically on this video. Theophoric, bearing the name of a god, deity. If you look at Wikipedia, do you have Wikipedia? Look it up on Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
And you may find the noun deity there. What does that say?
We do have it.
What does it say?
Reflecting something about the character of the person so named in relation to that deity.
It's there. As I said, the spirit of truth. That means I'm the person that's associated with the deity of that name that they cut off. And they left you with Mika. Go back to Mika. They left you with this, M-I-C-A-H. And in English, M-I-C-A-H, in translation, it means who is. And some meanings mean who is like. Mika, who is. Of course, I mentioned a moment ago, they cut off that theophoric extension in the name of the God. I mean, at one time, I carried these same 7 angels around with me. And although there are 7 angels, there's a set of twins of those 7 angels. 2 angels are identical. You cannot tell them apart. They are identical and they have the same assignment. Although they have the same assignment because they're identical, they both were given separate instructions to this planet. Same assignment, separate instructions. The assignment is to do as I say do. You will be obedient. That's the assignment, to go out into the world over the earth and fulfill prophecy of nature and destruction, even the sun and water. That's where Kaf comes in with water and the wind. Mem Kaf, as you see on my head now, that's Yod Kaf Shin Mem Sophie. Destruction. So you have 7 angels, 2 sets of twins. That's 5. 5 angels, and 2 of those 5 are twins to create 7 positions. And they are, from right to left, Mem, Yod, Kaf. Yod, this twin, Hey, Yod, Hey, Wav, Hey. Mem, Yod, Kaf, Yod, Hey, Wav, Hey. Got it? Mem, Yod, Kaf, Yod the twin, Hey, Wab, Hey. The other twin, Hey, and Yod are twins. Yod and Hey are twins. That's 7 angels, all 7 in the book called Revelation. That means that these 7 angels have been in my soul before this world ever was, from the beginning, even before the beginning. It being that the world did not want you to know that, they took these angels away, some of them. They took both of the twins away. One twin of both they took away. That's Yod and Hey. And they also took away Wab to protection, the protector of the planet, Wab. They took Wab away. Wab, the 6th Hebrew alphabet symbol, Wab, which is the character, the Hebrew symbol of protection, protects the earth. Wab, W. When they took Wab away, W, they also brought wind here with them. Wab, that's the English W, creates wind. And as they thought they took Wab away with wind, they forgot Kaf, which is the god of wind, Kaf. And you see Kaf today as the English is letter known as C, turned backward. I'm going to reveal that in a moment because the god of Kaf is here. The ruler of Kaf is here. Kaf is not pronounced with a C. There is no Cyrus. I'm going to explain to you that Kaf is here today. The furnace. Kaf brings the furnace. That's the 3rd angel. Mem Yod Kaf. Kaf brought the furnace with him. Kaf is creator of the furnace. Are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Kaf is the creator of the furnace of affliction. And the furnace that was promised after Judah would be brought into bondage in a strange land, that furnace will come into action and be activated, even in the last days, which are now. So since they cut off Wab, they cut off one twin, Hey, and they cut off the other twin, Yod. They left you with Mem, Yod, Kaf, Hey. No Wab. That creates English's Mika. However, the 7 together are Mem, Yod, Kaf, Yod, Hey, Wab, Hey. Mem, Yod, Kaf, Yod, Hey, Wab, Hey, from right to left, all 7. In English, it's interpreted as Mika Yahweh, and it means who is like Yahweh in English. Who is like Yahweh in English? Who is like Yod Wab, Hey? Again, he is not the God of England. We are not deities of England. We created the men of Eng. We created the people of Eng in Europe. They were in caves. They have since graduated into more modern world of palaces over the UK, United Kingdom. These are men of Eng. But we are not the gods of Eng. We are the gods of the Hebrew. I say gods because there's 2. There's the Father and the Son, deities. Are you listening? You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So since they realized that they cannot live without the God of the planet, they put God back into the name Mika, but they only put the title El, Elohim. They let you know, that was to let you know, all the world know that Mika is also the God of the earth. Are you hearing me? This is Revelations.
Yeah.
They knew that Mika is also the Christ. They also know that he's the God of the earth. He's also known as the earth. So it be that the Tetragrammaton, Yod Wafe, is ineffable and not to be spoken. That's one reason. Another reason they cut it off of Mika. They replaced it with Elohim, an abbreviation for El, E-L. And therefore they gave the world Mikael. Mikael, the great prince, also known as the archangel. In English, in England. That means they gave them Mem Yod Kaf, the The same as Mem Yod Kaf, Elohim, or Aleph Lamet. Mem Yod Kaf Aleph Lamet. And some Hebrew Israelites, the false Jews, may have Ayin Lamet. Mem Yod Kaf Ayin Lamet. But there are no vowels. There's no A and no E in Hebrew. What they did was merely use those two symbols to create the A or the E, the Aleph or the Ayin. You have Ayin? I forget Aleph. Let me show them what Ayin and Aleph looks like. I believe we have. Do you have one? This is Lamet. This is Lamet. And we had Ayin. Ayin. That's not Sade. Sade is straighter. Lamet. But this is, we're going to use this. Yeah. Lamet. No Ayin. Okay. There's Lamet. Sade and Ayin looks similar. This would be as close as we're going to get to the Ayin. You can look that up. Also looks like Sade and Ayin looks alike. It's just that now this is Sade. This is Sade. Ayin is a little bit more slanted. You got it? Ayin is a little bit more slanted. Sade. Just so you know the difference. That's El, Mikael. Also known as the Great Prince of Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, Michael in English. Also Revelation chapter 12, verse 7, the same Michael. So what do we reveal for those who do not know? It means that Mikael, the Christ, are the same. The great prince, the archangel are the same soul. From the beginning, also known as Adam. Mika is also known as Adam. He is also known as Yahshua. Mika through time was also known as the son of Nun. You can also confirm that in Judges chapter 17, verse 1, he's known as the son of Nun. This is Nun. Mika is known as the son of Nun. Got it? This is Kaf. Actually, this is Kaf. Got it? Kaf looks like a C turned backward. Now you have C. All right? In English with a dot. Now you have Kaf to the east. Kaf is to the east. Actually, that's the west. C. Kaf is to the east. All right? All right. This is for those who don't know. Reiterating. So let's go now. Let's reiterate and a quick synopsis. Quick synopsis. There's a reason for this benediction of this introduction. Mika is the same as Michael. There's only one. Mika's Hebrew celestial name or the meaning is Mem Yod Kaf Yod Wav He. From right to left, Mem Yod Kaf Yod Wav He. In English, interpreted as Mika Yahweh, and it means who is like Yahweh, or who is like Yod Wav He. Mika means who is like. But no, he could be like anything. With Mika is like anything, anybody who is like. They cut off the theophoric extension, which is the name of the deity, the Tetragrammaton, Yod Wav He. Mika is also known as Adam. He's known as Yahshua. He's known as the Christ. You got it? He's also known as Shalomo. He's also known as Shimshon. throughout history, incognito, traveled from place to place over the planet for over 6,000 years, from Genesis to Revelation, across the book. Micah started from Genesis chapter 1, and he goes all the way to Revelation chapter 22. He's also in Matthew chapter 24. All the book of Matthew is based on the biology of Micah. Got it? And the autobiography. The travel of the biology, of biological, from father to son, even the autobiography. Matthew. Today you're living the book called Matthew chapter 24. This planet is now suffering and being submissive to Matthew chapter 24. Now, that means we all know by now, this recorded is important for you to know. You know by now that Micah is here. And for all of you skeptics, Micah also knows to Christ. So if you want to, after this is over, go and run your tell to your family that Jesus is here, that he's also known as Jesus, then you may do so. He's no longer coming. I couldn't help but look on social media yesterday and saw someone in New York hold up a picture of a white boy with blonde hair and blue eyes and say, Jesus is coming. You would never see that photograph. You would never see the man in that photograph with blonde hair and blue eyes with a robe on, with a heart inside that robe that's known as Jesus. He is not coming. You are up for huge disappointment. You will not see a white man coming in the clouds as promised in the books of the Bibles that they created and made as Jesus. He does not exist. There has never been a Hebrew Israelite carrying a name with a J. You will never find Jesus or Jesus. You'll never find Jesus in Greek, Jesus in Spanish, or Jesus in English. He does not exist. You've been deceived. This whole world has been deceived. Are you hearing me? I pray that those who are watching this video, even live stream, can hear what I'm saying. You are for huge disappointment if you're looking for a white man to come back in the clouds. There are no white Hebrew Israelites. There are no white skin complected or complexion. No skin grafts of any Hebrew Israelites that are white. Even if they have been burned by a fire, that's just the skin peeling. But when that pink skin grows back, they become pink. There never was a white man nailed to a cross, but they're being recognized this Sunday that says Easter. This Sunday, speaking of time of this recording, this is now known as the 26th day of the first month of our first month of the year. The name of our month is not Abib. Abib is a group of hieroglyphic symbols that represents the Father and the Son. The Father, the rod, and his Son. They'll be doing a certain performance the first month of the year. The performance is now taking place. It's called Passover. Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 weeks. And right now we're in the second week, going to the third week. And for those, I'm going to say in a moment, for those who are hard-headed about people, they're now recognizing this week as Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, not realizing that the furnace is here to burn your bread, and you don't even know it. The oven is hot, burning your bread, because you choose to stay flat, and you don't put any yeast in your dough to make your dough rise, to become rich. As your dough rise, you want your money to stay flat. I mean, you would never be rich. Our dough has rised. We're on our way back to our sovereignty of being rich, from poverty to riches. That's another mystery of the book that my father wrote. I read it. You think poverty is a physical state. Poverty is in your mind. You are poor in your mind. but we are rich in our mind because we have now risen and has eaten and is still eating leavened bread. This day, again, our daily bread. Praise Yod.
Praise Yod.
For, as I was saying, the second recording today is the 26th day of our first month of our year 6026. 6026. And that means that sundown today would be the 27th day of the first month. Our day started sundown, from sundown to sundown. The evening and the morning were the first day. Today, according to their calendar, which is known as the Gregorian calendar that's ruling this planet today, is known as Tuesday, April 5th, 2023, for the record. Again, this is April the 5th of their fourth month. The fourth month of the calendar from January, April. The fifth day of that month in the year 2023. Got it?
Yeah.
All right, that's for the sake of recording. Now, my father, to those who calls him by an appellation, is known as God. That is my father, God. And he's also known that they placed on him his name or title by the Tetragrammaton. That's 3 Hebrew characters now. 3 Hebrew characters. One of those 3 is positioned twice, which is hey. That creates the what they call the theophoric extension, theophoric. So he's been known throughout history as Yod He Wav He. Yod He Wav He. Got Beth? And in English, the men of Ing, the people of Ing, the Church of Ing, they transliterated that to become 3 English characters from left to right. From left to right, 3 English characters. And one of those 3 characters in English is known as H. So you would have Yod He, Wav He in Hebrew. And in English, so you would have Yod He, Wav He from right to left. Yod He, Wav He in Hebrew. In English, you'll have YHWH from left to right. From left to right. YHWH. And then they added 2 vowels, the A and the E, to get a pronunciation. Today it's known as Yahweh. And that's what the people of England has created, their own God that they call Yahweh. Again, back in the late 1800s, another Englishman came along and created his God from that tetragrammaton known as Jehovah with a J. So whenever you hear someone say that the name Yahweh is God, that they are following the people of England, they have joined on with the people of England and worshiping their religion, and their God is known as Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
Their God is known as Yahweh. And now all across the world, you can look on this same YouTube network or Facebook, and you'll find people singing to Yahweh. All nations, even the 54 nations in Africa, are following and know Yahweh. There are churches all over the world now, and they have replaced God with Yahweh. They've also replaced Jesus with Yahweh. Instead of saying Jesus, they're now saying Yahweh. And that's fine. They can do that. That's not the name to call on to be saved. But they can do that. The only name that you can call on to be saved is the name that you didn't know of.
Right.
And that would be the name to be saved. That must mean that the name will be preserved for the days when you need to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
And who shall call on the name shall be saved and delivered. You could most certainly call on the name Yahweh, and you can, but that name will not save you. that is not the name of the God of the Hebrews. Only the God of the Hebrews can save you. Why? Because he's the God that created all the names. And he's the God that created you. Only the God that created you can save you. And we're not speaking of the vowel you. If that was the case, then we would mention ye. Ye need your God to save you. And you need a God to save ye. And the only God that can save ye, you, and you, Atah and Panem, is Yod He Wav He, the Tetragrammaton, also known as Yod, a name that no one knew. You knew the name, the alphabet. You don't know his name. That's why the challenge was left by Shlomo in Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 4. Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 4. Again, my Father is God. His name is Yod. And he was called the Tetragrammaton, Yod He Wav He. That means Yod He Wav He is a meaning of 4 different meanings, 4 different nouns. The door, the way, the truth, and the life. The name of our God is life. He created life. Life is Yod. Simple as that. Yod. Now I'm going, and my father, see, father is English, but Ab is Hebrew. We are Hebrews. We're Hebrews that are far from beyond this planet. And we got here by way of celestial crafts, spacecrafts. That's how we got here. That's how we arrive. That's how we leave when we like to leave. That's how my father leaves when he likes to leave. And that's how he comes when he wants to come. He's done that throughout history. From the beginning, come and go. The last time he came was most recently as he came out of the gateway in 1935. According to your calendar, that would have been Sunday, October 27th, 1935, according to your calendar, Gregorian. He exited the gateway. And he stayed with us and walked around this planet for 72 years. Well, 71 years. Of course, he went through the form that you would have to go through as formality of a human being, terrestrial being, learn how to walk. But in the flesh, he was with us for 72 years. Even in the womb, he was flesh. According to our calendar, it was the 15th day of the 8th month. 15th day of the 8th month, our solar year, 5938. Came out of the womb. He dwelt with us in a body, a terrestrial vessel that he created. He came to Miami in 1979. He came as Moses. He arrived in Miami of Florida and started teaching here in Miami of Florida, where we are, in 1979, the same suburb where I'm sitting right now, that's known as Brownville. In the flesh. God. He came to his own. His own knew him not, and they received him not. They received him not, they knew him not. But he told them who he is. He told them in his final days of being here on the planet with us, his final years, that he's God. He even came to them in their English mindset. He spoke to them in their mindset that were taught to them by the English slave master, the men of Eng. Thereby, since Judah only knew the idiom of English, actually English Creole, and since he raised himself up around his own children, his people of Yehuda, Israel, and spoke their language, then he spoke to them in the language that they're familiar with. So when he used the Tetragrammaton in English, known as Yahweh, he was speaking to their Yahweh minds. He was speaking to their English dead Yahweh minds that they can relate to. They cannot relate to Yod, He, Wav, He, Hebrew. It was promised that he would come speaking to them in a strange tongue, stammering lips. And so his servant, the same thing, who is like him. who is like Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, who is like Yahweh. My father's name is not Yahweh ben Yahweh. Beth is B in English. Beth means the son of, or Beth Nun Sophie. Beth is the first part of Nun Sophie. Beth. You have Beth Nun Sophie, which means the son of. So you have Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, which is the tetragrammaton that he walked around with. And then his son was here and is still here with you today. Beth Nun Sophie, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. That means the son of Yahweh. Beth Nun Sophie, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh means the son of Yahweh. Beth Nun Sophie, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, the son of Yahweh. So you have Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, which is God. Then you have Beth Nun Sophie, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, which is the son of God. It is ludicrous for you to think that the Father can also be the Son. And what they're saying now is that, well, how could he say that when John 5:43 says, I and my Father are one? Then in order for someone to say, I and my Father, what you fail to realize is that he said, and. That means right away, there's a conjunction that brings them together, and. I and my Father. That means he does not want to be separated from his Father. Whatever he says, that's what his Father says. And that's what he said to do, what his Father says to do. He does not have a agenda of himself. He does not have a separate agenda. He is not going to do something his Father did not do, or did not order him to do. As simple as that. Although he promised himself that he would reveal certain things when he comes back himself. That's why the Father did not do it, because he said he would do it. It doesn't mean that they're separated. It just means that the Father gave him the honor to give all judgment of the world himself. And he will give the law himself as Shiloh. He cannot be separate from his Father because his Father created Shiloh. His Father created the law. His Father created him. If he was self-made, he could not be the Son. He would be the Father. Only the Father could be self-made, self-created, self-raised. You got it? So when you see the videos where you say, since Yahweh raised me up, that's because Yahweh raised him up in the English world. And he learned Yahweh when he came back, that they had created Yahweh since he was gone. Who is Yahweh? Well, Yahweh raised me up because I was awakened to that name Yahweh. And it was to the knowledge of Yahweh. And so did the Son. We didn't know Yahweh when we left. We did not. The Phoenicians came along and drew funny symbols of the Tetragrammaton. They didn't know what that was. When did he leave? Over 6,000 years ago. The Tetragrammaton did not exist over 6,000 years ago. Do you hear me? Look it up. You go to back 6,000 years, the Tetragrammaton did not exist. So how could he tell, and how could I tell Yaakov that my name is Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh? Or that my name is even Yokashimia? Why are you calling after my name? So with that said, just quickly, I went back to a little reminiscence that my father's God, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, he was with us in the flesh, and he taught in the temple here in Miami, Florida, for 10 years. And I'm going to say from 1980, because that's where we moved into that temple. 1980 to 1990 in the temple. Now, let me introduce you to him and some things that he said was happening today. But before we do, let me remind you that we're living in the days of Noah. Would you let that be our first scripture? Turn to the book called Matthew 24, chapter 24, Matthew. Matthew chapter 24. Read verse 3. Matthew chapter 24, verse 3.
Matthew 24:3 quote. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
Okay, today I'm here officially letting you know, in case you did not know, that this is now the end of the world. The end of the world, not the planet. This is now the end of the world. Now I'm going to give you the sign of my coming. The first sign that you should see and be aware of my coming is that there will be men deceiving the world. Read verse 4.
And the Christ answered and said unto them, Take heed,
Take heed that no man deceive you. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Take heed that no men deceive you. Read that part again, verse 4, the beginning.
And the Christ answered and said unto them,
Take heed that no man deceive you. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you agree? Take heed that no man deceive you. You agree? Okay. And that's why you're in the situation that you're in today. Because you're letting men deceive you. And you agreed with me totally. I asked you twice and you said yes, you agree. And that's one sign of my coming, that you let men deceive you. But that is not what I said. That's not what they transliterated. At my coming, I said, when I give you the sign of my coming, now you may have known I was here all the time. Some think they grew up with me and they knew me. But I said, let no man deceive you. That means at my coming in the last days, there would be one man that would deceive the whole world. And that man is now also read in Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9. Turn to that for a moment. Put your finger here, you're coming back. But you agreed that I said men. I did not say that. You said men. You agreed to M-E-N. Revelation chapter 12, read verse 9.
Revelation 12:9 quote. And the great dragon was cast out.
You have to first realize that this dragon is not a animated cartoon in a movie. He's carrying the appellation, the title as a dragon. Why? What is dragons familiar? What are they famous for? In fire.
Breathing fire.
Breathing fire. The man that I'm speaking of in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 4 is a man who allegorically breathed fire and become a furnace. He would carry a title as the furnace dragon. He would also drag on. He would drag on over and over again with the same deceptions as he did before. And he would carry a third of the United States of America with him. A third, just as he did in heaven. He carried a third of the angels. So there's a third of the citizens here that you think are citizens that are actually his angels. And no matter what he says or does, they will follow him and back him up. Why? Because he is their God. Read the next part.
That old serpent.
He is the same one who was in the Garden of Eden back in the days with a man and a woman. He's also called what?
The devil.
He is the devil. He is the death and he is evil. He is death and he is evil. He's also the one who sat on and continues to sit on the people. Satan. You got it?
Yeah.
He's also, his skin complexion is red. So during the same month that he's scheduled to go to trial in December, he will manifest himself as red as Satan, as you move the N with the T to become Santa in December. With a red suit. That suit is his mind of blood. He's out to get blood, death. Now, what else it says?
Which deceiveth the whole world.
There's your deception. That word is the same word, deceive, that you found in Matthew chapter 24, verse 4. Deceive the whole world. That's one man. Not just part of the world. Deceive the whole world. It doesn't say worlds, because he cannot deceive a certain world. But this planet is full of worlds. See, the mistake that you make is that you think this world is the planet, and it's not. This planet is full of worlds that were framed by God. So he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. That first casting out was done in 2021. And that's why they caused havoc on January 6th. Realized they were about to be cast out 14 days later. On January 20th, 2021, the whole administration was cast out. His angels were cast out with him. You got it?
Yeah.
This is being fulfilled. That man deceiveth the whole world. World, not the planet. There's a certain world he's deceiving. Go to Hebrews chapter 11 and read verse 1, 2, and 3. They think that the world is a planet. Hebrews chapter 11.
Verse 1.
Verse
Quote,
1.
now faith is a substance.
You need faith in order to get away from this particular world that's being deceived. It's the substance of what? Things hoped for?
Things hoped for.
The evidence of things not seen.
Evidence of things not seen.
Read verse 2.
For by it the elders obtained a good report. Verse 3.
Verse 3.
Through faith, we understand that the worlds were
Excuse
framed.
me? By faith, you do what?
We understand that the worlds,
You have plural.
Yeah.
The worlds were framed.
by the word of God.
You got it? The worlds were not framed by God. That's not what the Bible says. The worlds were not framed by God. The worlds were framed by the word of God. And that word was made flesh and is talking to you right now. I'm framing the worlds and I'm putting them in a frame. And whatever you're watching me on this video right now, it should be a frame that you're watching me on, like a square. It's called a flat screen television. It's called a cell phone. It's called a notebook pad. It's called whatever you're watching me on. I guarantee you it's square. That's a frame. I'm framing the worlds. I'm giving you the difference between the world and the worlds that are now framed by the word made flesh, being fulfilled. Now explain that to me. That's why I gave you the date. So when someone come after me, they'll say, I know what the worlds mean by being framed. Because if you had any kind of common sense, how could you frame a world? Now, I had to give you this frame first so I can give you the other frame. Now I'm going to frame the world that he's in. I'm going to frame him. And that's your judiciary term now. I'm going judicial. He's being framed. I'm going to frame him today. That world. I'm letting you know who he is now. You thought it was men. I said, let no man deceive you. Now go back to Matthew chapter 24. And so you must take heed that no man deceive you. Verse 5 is ludicrous. Read verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. See, deceive again? That's the many that should come in the name Christ. And many of them have said that they are Christ, but they don't know my name. That's why they put the name Jesus here, so you can say, everyone that comes here in the last days and says Jesus, they're deceiving the whole world, deceiving many. but he cannot deceive those who know that Jesus is not the name of the Christ.
Right.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, stay in chapter 24, read verse 21. Actually, yeah, read verse 21.
Verse 21 quote, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever it shall be."
That tribulation, the TRI and the AL would be a trial. A trial, tribulation. It would cause havoc. That means something's going to happen in the last days of my coming at the end of the world that has never happened before in the United States of America. It has never happened in the history of the United States of America. That means that a president, or sitting president, or former president has never been charged or been indicted before by a grand jury of any state. So at my coming, a great tribulation is going to happen. It said tribulation, one. There should be great tribulation. Do you see it? I pray you see that, just like you thought you saw men. A man. There's tribulation. It was tribulations, and you could be looking for what you think are the natural disasters that are happening today across the United States of America. That's a different plague of destruction. Tribulation, such as never one since the beginning of the world to this time. The beginning of what world? See, that's not the beginning of the planet.
Right.
This world is the world that was given to Lucifer to rule it, Cain. To rule the world, rule that world. He could never rule the planet, rule the world for 6,000 years. What's the beginning of the world? Back in Genesis chapter 4, when he was given that opportunity. He actually was given an opportunity, his father, Hallel, back in chapter 3. The beginning of the world. To this time, that world started in this world in 1776. That's the beginning of this world, this time. July 7th, 1776, when the United States government became independent, and the first president, George Washington, became president. All the way up to the 45th president, nothing has ever happened like this. That one of being indicted. This one is the same one who is the fire, the great dragon that brought the fire. He is also known as the furnace. That's why you must go through the fiery furnace. You cannot go through the furnace, let you know the furnace is. I mean, you'll be here when the furnace comes.
Right.
You'll be even a citizen under the furnace as he bring in the greatness of the furnace. You think he's here to help black people. And yet, you're in the same furnace as he was over in Babylon at Nebuchadnezzar, the same one. He came throughout history as well. How do you think he got here today? If he didn't come from the garden, if you think it's not the same one from the garden, then where is he?
Right.
And it was promised that he'd have to do this today. So we had to bring him through time to come along through time with me. You know, he knows who I am, and I know who he is. That's why I told you in 2010 that he was going to be president. I told a few in 2010 before he even knew he was going to run, although he claimed he wanted to run since the 1990s. I prophesied, you check my timeline, I prophesied way before he started running campaign. I said he would be president of the United States because I wrote it. I know who he is. He knows who I am. Why do you think I wrote the book called The Oppositionist? I wrote a book that's called The Oppositionist. Right? And as I wrote this book, in that book, The Oppositionist, right? And I had it out for public use. And a few people have purchased the book. And in the book, I put the photo of the planet upside down, the oppositionist. You can go online and find a copy of that book. I may have had a copy here with me somewhere. This is the book. I wrote this book back in 2012. Copyright. You look very closely. You see, I have the world upside down.
Mhm.
It's a geographical map that I put upside down in the book. You probably can see it better that way. See it better that way.
Mm.
Now, my opponent, who's the oppositionist, right? Who knows who I am? I know who he is. He claimed to the world and deceiving the world to make you think that he's the chosen one. It came out of his mouth that he's the chosen one. So during the pandemic, right in the heart of the pandemic, and during that little clash with the White House, I believe back in 2019, he stood in front of a church and grabbed the Bible, right? He grabbed the Bible and he turned the Bible upside down. He turned, see, I turned this upside down, the planet, which is supposed to be right side up. So he took in his right hand, it was his right hand,
Mhm.
he held up a Bible in his right hand
Mhm.
and held it in his right hand upside down to let you know that he is Cyrus, that you think is Cyrus. There's no such name. There's no such Cyrus. Cyrus never existed. Why? Because Kaf is here.
Mm.
See? Yod Kaf is here. There is no Cyrus. Kaf is here. The furnace is here. And what happens with the furnace? What's another synonymous term? What does a furnace do? Burn. That means there's 4 seasons, 5 if you want to count autumn. And out of those 4 or 5 seasons, counting autumn, one of those seasons brings about a lot of heat. Summer. And summer goes with the furnace.
Mm.
Go back down to Matthew for a moment. He held that Bible upside down to let you know cough is here, summer is here.
Mm.
Read verse 22.
Verse 22, quote, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
So now we know that this is now fulfilled. I did this a few years ago. There are no longer 365 days in our year. Our year has been placed back the way it should be. 30 days, 12 months. We took away 5 days. Put it back as it's supposed to be in the circle.
Mhm.
And we see those 5 extra days now. We do what? But you know, we put them on the altar, and we bring them back in on the 180 days. After 180 days, half, put it right back on the vernal equinox to come for the fall. And if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ to thee, don't believe it. Believe it not. For I told you these things before, verse 25, Matthew, but you forgot.
Mm.
Now, read verse 32 and learn a parable.
Yeah. Now learn
When are you to learn this parable?
now.
Now.
Right.
When you learn this parable, keep it and keep that knowledge in your mind. This parable I'm about to reveal today, then you would have won. You will defeat death. And when you defeat something, you win, right? So today you win. Yesterday you couldn't win because you didn't know.
Right.
Yesterday you didn't know. Today you'll win, and tomorrow you can say, I have won.
Yeah.
So write down now. You got it? N-O-W.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's your English mindset. It's like they're worshiping and following Yahweh. Because my father was speaking to a bunch of hard-headed people back in the days. They're still holding on to Yahweh. Ben Yahweh. It's not his name. We do not follow or serve the God of England by name. So since you wrote down N-O-W for now, that's your first parable that you're going to win. Today, tomorrow, you won. Now write it down again with your Hebrew mindset. Now write it down from right to left. And that's where you should want to be. One. Now, that's your first learning of the parable. Read the rest of it. Learn a parable of or from the fig tree.
Of
the fig tree. Now, you're no longer going to figure this out. That's the second parable. Something you had to figure out. I'm going to give it to you today that you don't have to figure it out anymore.
Mm.
That's not fig. That's abbreviation for figure. I'm going to give you a lot of figures. When what?
When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh.
Now hold it. We're going to come back to that. But go to verse 33.
So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door.
Now you have summer is nigh. And yet when I teach you these parables today, so I'm going to reveal, you'll know that it's near. You got nigh and near. What's nigh? There is no nigh. They say nigh is synonymous for near. What they did was they cut the leg off, the top off the H. They gave you the N. It should be high. These are symbols. That's H-I-G-H. They cut the head off, the leg. You got nigh, because if it wasn't, then would they put near in verse 33? Even the doors. The doors are equivalent to the leaves. These leaves, right, are now, but you did this before. That's why I said I told you before. Go back up. You go make a note now. Go back up and read verse 25 again.
Behold, I have told you before.
Now, if I told you before, that's in the past. But it's time to leave again. That means we were over in Egypt in bondage. Exodus, we had to leave. It was more than one. It was more than once. We left out of Egypt. We also left out of Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar. There's 2 leaves. Now we got to leave again. That's 3 leaves. But I told you this before. So at least those 2 leaves, right, brings it as a past tense. So now write down leaved. L-E-A-V-E-D. Now, right, you're going to need all these notes now. Now go back and read verse 32 again.
Now learn a parable of the fig tree.
Did you learn it yet? No. Didn't reveal it yet. Go ahead.
When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh.
How is this relating to today? Put it forth leaves, even at the doors. Read verse 33.
So likewise ye.
See, likewise, that likewise going with nigh. So in this verse, they're going to give you a likewise to nigh, which will be near. They also want to give you a likewise to leaves, which is going to be doors. Read it.
When ye shall see all these things, know that it is near.
Near is to nigh. What?
Even at the doors.
Doors is to leaves. Read verse 34.
Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled.
This generation is 40 years. We are now in 2023. When you subtract that, you should be somewhere around 1983. Am I correct or am I right? And in 1983, I was in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan. 35. Heaven and earth.
Heaven and earth shall pass away,
But
my word shall not pass away.
no. But what?
But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
That means now I must introduce you to my Father so he can tell you and speak to you concerning the days of Noah. Read verse 37.
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Read.
For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Verse 39. And knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Now, when you hear my Father speaking as it was in the days of Noah, then you know that the Son of Man is here. His coming is here fulfilled. Summer is nigh. Leaves at the door. And the furnace is here. And there's never been something that happened like that since there was a nation. Even to the same time, the beginning of the world. Did I say nation? There's never been anything like that since it was a nation.
Mm-hmm.
Go back, what verse was that? Even to that same time. Read, what verse was that? I mean, you have, Daniel chapter 12. Read verse, go to Daniel chapter 12. Yeah, that's a good cross-reference scripture with Matthew. It's in Matthew. But let's get the source. It came from Daniel chapter 12. Read verse 1. Then they'll know why I had to introduce myself as Michael.
Daniel 12:1 quote. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book.
This is the same time of trouble that's in Matthew that comes from Daniel. Now go back to 24, Matthew. Read verse 7.
Verse 7 quote. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places.
Read verse 15.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.
Now, when Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 is fulfilled, that this is a supplement to here in verse 15, that means the Son of Man would be here, and this will be the last days. It also means that someone will be reading, and only one that will readeth will understand it. And he will share the understanding with others. That's why you have that parentheses. Is it not in parentheses? Yeah, that means the Christ is also known as whoso, because no one else can read it and understand it. Is that right? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. That means now, read verse 21.
For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
That goes with Daniel chapter 12, verse 1,
Yeah.
and Matthew 24, 15. It's all the same. Now you get the connection?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we go to the days of Noah that you just read. Right? Now go to the video. Let me introduce you to my what he said. That means when he preach, teach, reach for the people in this video, the Son will be here after him, revealing you the days of Noah. You'll be in the days of Noah. Because this was recorded over 30 years ago, what you're about to read, what you're about to hear. 1989, 1988 would have been the year that this was recorded in the temple. Nice and loud.
Don't worry about what I don't know. Let's see how much of the earth you don't know. The earth is full of the knowledge of the Lord God. And so no one cover the sea. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 29. Yahweh chose us to bless the whole world. All people of the world, all nations of the earth are blessed through us. In case you're wondering why the world is catching hell, there's a reason. Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, read.
And I will bless him that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed.
At the moment, all families of the earth are cursed. No rational person will deny that all families of the earth are presently cursed. You have Iraq just blew a big hole in a ship in the Persian Gulf. Killed about 30 or so Americans. That's over 10,000 miles from these shores. Over in somebody else's territory. Anytime your ship is blown apart and you lose 30 of your people, that doesn't sound like a blessing. And just today, Yahweh brought a tornado through Texas and killed up a lot of people. Now, if you don't know that's an act acts of God, Yahweh, tornadoes, they read your insurance policies. And without exception, your insurance policies state they will not insure or pay off for acts of God. No insurance policy wants to pay off for acts of God. Then they tell you, in case you don't know, go get your insurance policies and read what the acts of God are that they don't want to pay for. Tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, volcano eruptions, these are some of the samples of the acts of God that men with money don't want to have to pay for, especially when he gets upset. When God gets upset, nobody wants to pay out of their pocket for that because he is devastated. That's why you read in Psalms 47 that he's a mighty and terrible God. He's good and he's love, but he's mean. And he will kill you. You don't believe that? Go back and try to find the people in the days of Noah. Yahweh was so upset he killed everybody on the earth but 8 people. Right in Genesis, and he told you why he did it. He said, the people thought evil continually, all the day and night long. They just thought evil all the time. And he got upset and said, I repent for having made man. Genesis chapter 6, I don't want you to think I'm making this up, but people, Genesis chapter 6, people want to tell you that God is all love like he doesn't have a wrathful side. Which means that false religious leaders are causing the people of the earth to make a mistake about the nature of God, Yahweh. That you can do anything you want to and just say, God understands. Well, you got the wrong kind of God that understands. The God that made the sun, moon, and stars, the air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, he doesn't understand you being evil. Period. And he will get you for that. Why am I bringing this side up? It's because the nations of the earth are not taught this side. That's why the world is being destroyed, because they think they can do anything against the Creator. And everything will be all right somehow. Genesis 6, verse 5. Read.
And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Now, who can deny that's the state of mind of America? I have the answer and the cure to all of it. I'm here to heal all the people of the land that want to be healed, regardless of your nationality. Notice Yahweh said that the wickedness of man was great. Porno houses in America, pornographic literature. They take women and just strip them totally nude and take cameras and go all up in the birth canal and then teach people to freak off and be nutty about that. Wicked. Profanity all over the land. You can't go anywhere in America without hearing profane language. Filth, mouth, just filthy continually all the day long. Woman curse out woman, woman curse out man, man curse out man, man curse out woman. Kid curse out kid, kids curse out adults. The adults curse the kids out. They lay back and use language that you can't imagine a child could think up. And they didn't, they were taught this.
Play some more.
She has a little drugstore in her medicine cabinet. She thinks she's all right because she went to the drug dealer, the doctor. Biggest drug dealers on earth are doctors and pharmaceutical companies. And your local pharmacist at the drug store. You can go to the store and get all the drugs you need. Then all the other drug addicts upset about the drug addicts on the corner. Ones on the corner just don't go through a doctor. I don't need his permission. I just go to the corner and get it. Go through all that trouble playing no game and go home and get what they want. One set of drug addicts upset with the other set. A country of psychosomatics. 85% of the people who go to the hospital and get operations don't need it. They're not sick physically at all. America's full of disease, all kinds of disease, cancer, heart attack, stroke, improper diet, because man is going against the laws that Yahweh set down for us to eat by. And those of us that eat according to his law, we look good, longer, we feel better, longer. Let's see, we're going to see how God feels about wickedness. Verse 6, read.
And it pleased the Lord Yahweh that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart.
Now see, Yahweh's not a spirit, see? Yahweh has a heart and he grieves. You can cause Yahweh to grieve. But the only thing that upsets him is what? Wickedness. He said he repented. I'm having thoughts about why did I make man? I made man to be good, but he's the opposite of what I made him for. He seems to love that which I condemn. He wants to go against what I lay down. And I made him. So it grieved Yahweh in his heart. And let's see what he felt about it. First of all, you're looking at the fact that it grieves him. So you think you can cause God to grieve on and on and on, and nothing's going to happen? You really think that? Let's read the next verse and see what he said he would do about it. Read.
And the Lord Yahweh said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth.
Look at that. Was that mean of God? His creation. He does what he wants with it. That's what makes him God. People in America are just one of many nations that love wickedness. Love wickedness. They have nightclubs, clubs at night. They have day clubs too, but they have clubs for the night. That is only wicked. People do not go to nightclubs to practice charity, benevolence. And to establish sagaciousness. There is not a soul present who will say that that's the purpose of nightclubs, to do the works of righteousness and good. That this is where honorable men gather to learn about and practice honesty. Nightclubs are not places where men and women go to be with their families. It's a place where families are broken up. Sometimes fights break out because the wife is looking at him, not the husband, but another him. And she slaps his face because he's looking at somebody else. Nightclub. And they all get drunk, stumble out, and go hit somebody with an automobile. Death and destruction as a result of the mind of man thinking wickedness continually.
That was in the 80s. Go back now to Matthew for a moment. That speaks for itself. He speaks for itself. But he also spoke from Matthew 24. Go back to that for a moment. You heard he mentioned drinking and carrying on. The last thing he said in that video. You can watch that video in its entirety. You saw the title on it. If you don't know the title, you can play this back, this recording back, and get the title and go. It's on YouTube. We just went to YouTube. Now go to Matthew back for a moment in chapter 24. You go back and I read, it was verse 38.
Verse 38, quote, "For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark."
Read verse 39.
Verse 39. "And knew not until the flood came and took them all away."
Now go back and read verse 5. Read verse 3.
Verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
"And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?"
Now you know you're in the end of the world. Because they are doing just what they were told would be doing. What was told they'd be doing. At the coming, the days of Noah. Remember, verse 4. Do what?
"And the Christ answered and said unto them,
Take heed that no man deceive you. Make a note of this now. I'm building a foundation of a square to frame the world. One world. Now go back once again and read verse 32. That's why you're writing, to learn this parable.
Verse 32, "Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh.
Verse 33.
So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors."
Now, verse 32, you have leaves. I just mentioned before we watched that video of my that now you have leaved. We left in Exodus, we left leaves. We left in Babylon, leaves. Now we leaved, past tense. We have one more Exodus. This is the last one. Right? Leaved. You also have doors. You have Neer. Write down Neer, Near. You wrote down leaves, right?
Yeah.
And what did you put with leaves? You just wrote Leaves with the D.
Yeah.
Now write down Neer, Near. and write down doors as notes. Right? Okay. Now, what happens in the summer?
It's hot.
That's almost like a furnace. Go to Revelation chapter 1. Read verse 13.
Revelation 1:13 quote.
Mhm.
Midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
14.
His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
15.
And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
Now, his feet, the what?
Fine brass, like unto fine
Like in
brass,
the fine brass.
as if they burned in a furnace.
Why would you call feet they? And why did they not put his feet like in the fine brass, as if his feet burned in the furnace? But instead they put they. Now we had this before. You know by now that feet is a metaphor and symbolic for people, his students.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, as if they burn in a furnace. Now you got to study the word furnace. Now go to the first book, Genesis chapter 15. Read verse 13. Genesis 15:13.
Verse 13 quote. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
Now we went over this in our last testimony video.
Mm-hmm.
We know what the seed is now, who the seed is. One tribe.
One seed. Yeah.
That tribe was known in the Bible as Judah in English. Now after that, when they go into bondage for 400 years, as strangers, right? What happens after that? Read verse 14.
And also that nation.
There's a nation. It doesn't say in verse 13 that there was a nation. It just said land. Now you know that land is a nation. Whom they shall serve what?
Will I judge. And afterwards shall they come out with great substance.
That great substance is like rising of richness to rise. Verse 15.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace.
Shalom. Shalom. And what?
Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. 16. But in the 4th generation.
Now you have a but in the beginning of 15. That means Abel wouldn't be here in verse 15. He's going to be buried. But in verse 16, you got a but that says what?
But in the 4th generation, they shall come hither again.
You got a gain now for what?
For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Now the Amorites is another allegory for the Americans. Not yet full. The Americans are the sayers. The Amorites. There'll be a bunch of people that would be speaking to say things, like in political campaigns. Go to your concordance and type in Amorites and see if it don't take you to. You should see H559. It's going to take you to Amar. But you go, that's the etymology. The first one is going to give you H567. it takes you to a sayer, a particular sayer, one speaker, or maybe a host of them campaigning. Amorite. See, Amorite, the AM.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hmm?
A sayer.
The army who think they are right.
Right.
The Americans who think they are right.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
A sayer.
A sayer. One sayer.
Mm.
That means the Amorites are a lot of sayers, but there's one Amorite who's going to be a sayer, who's going to speak. And when he speaks, he'll be deceiving the whole world. Read verse 17. Let's see if we can get that full.
And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace.
There's your smoking furnace. And what?
And a burning lamp that passed between those pieces.
Now you have the smoking furnace and a burning lamp, which are two different people. That's why you got to add. This is symbolic for two different beings in the last days. At the time that this nation going to be judged. Then this nation was, the start of this nation being judged was way back in February, January. And every day since we observed Passover, this country has been experiencing tornadoes and devastation and catastrophic natural disasters.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
True.
Even as I speak, this country is going through something right now in the Midwest as I'm speaking. And right now, I'm looking at, is that 2:09? That's like 2:28 in the afternoon AM, PM, East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, as I'm speaking, I guarantee you that tornadoes are tearing up this land. Whirlwinds. So you got you have a smoking furnace and burning lamp. Go to the next video now. In fact, before you do, this furnace is on the Strong's H 8574. Take a look at it. So you can see why this country is going through what it's going through right now. H 8574. That's where that word furnace comes from. Well, that's what created that word. That's transliterated it to English. It comes from Hebrew, the original Hebrew.
And now we have on the beat of God's wrath.
That's what you want.
His furnace.
His furnace. Now, that's the furnace. Right? Now, that furnace is symbolic, although it's of God's wrath, but there's another furnace. This is not the furnace that was prophesied in Isaiah chapter 45 to come. This furnace is of God's wrath. This furnace is also of the Christ who mentioned that summer will be near. When you see this furnace of God's wrath going across this country in the last days at my coming, then you'll also know that summer is near. It's even near at the doors. Do you hear what I'm saying? Yeah. Now go to the etymology, H 52:16. Turn your volume up on the television. And let me take you to Neer.
That's it.
And what's the meaning? You should have one word.
Lamp.
Lamp. That's the lamp. So you got a furnace and the lamp, which are two separate. Wow. Click on the robot. And let's see how you pronounce this word in Hebrew.
Strong's H 52:16. Neer.
Yeah.
Neer.
Now you know that summer is
second
near,
entry
at the door.
Neer. Neer.
You got it? Matthew 24:33 is a homophone. The same sound, different meanings, different idiom. Hebrew, English, near. Even at the doors. Now we're going to take it to the doors. Go back to the YouTube and let's find out who we have in YouTube that was once a follower of my arm. Click on that. He wants to be me. He wants to be me. My gave him that name in English for a reason. Click on that.
In America, when you have to go to live through all these regulations, we're living to survive in America because it's impossible to survive in America
Yeah, the beginning.
when you have to go to live through all these regulations, but they don't. And so they own 87% of all the business in America, while the white man and the black man are broke, just like in Russia. Of course you want taxes high. Why would you want taxes high? Because you don't pay taxes, Hillary. You and Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is a full-blooded Cherokee. They don't have to go through all that. So of course they want taxes high. So you can't compete with them. So that's why I love Trump, because he's letting the real white man and the real black man get some money. Give me liberty or give you death.
How do you meet President Trump?
How did I meet him? I met the first time I really met him. I was doing parties in West Palm Beach at some of his events, and then I met him at an event where in 2011 when he announced he was running for president. I was called by the people that was doing that event for me to sing behind him. So I sang behind him, and then I stood behind him. And the reason I liked him because like Cyrus in the Bible was supposed to be a bombastic, egotistical warmonger. And the last days I was taught by Yahweh that it would be a white man like that that will come to help deliver us out of the king of Babylon's hand.
Okay. Did you hear that? Okay. Now let's go back to the Bible. You also mentioned, and we couldn't play too much of that. I couldn't take too much. He mentioned Isaiah chapter 45. So go to that for a moment. Isaiah chapter 45. There's a white man who's coming to help free the black people.
Yahweh said that.
And Yahweh said that. So he'll be Cyrus. Do we get to the part of Cyrus?
Yeah.
He said Cyrus?
He said Cyrus. He said it.
That Cyrus will be freeing the black people. Okay. You have Isaiah chapter 45?
Yeah.
Read it. Verse 1.
Isaiah 45:1, quote, "Thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two lead gates, and the gates shall not be shut."
Now, why'd you pronounce that word like that? A few months ago, I destroyed the sea. Go to Revelation chapter 21. Put your finger on your Bibles of Isaiah chapter 45. Go to Revelation chapter 21 and read verse 1. By the way, I am symbolically known also as the earth.
"And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea."
So why are you pronouncing that word with a C as if it's Cyrus? And there is no more sea. After I destroyed the sea, I came back and put the pronunciation and the sound of what was sea back into its original state of transliteration, which is either the S or the K. So there is no sea, and neither is that sea. What is that? Kaf. Didn't I tell you my opponent turned the sea upside down?
Yeah.
Then what do you have? Is this sea or Kaf? What is this? This is the English sea. Is that why you said Cyrus?
Wow.
What is this?
That's the Kaf.
So why come it can't be Kares? Why is it not Kares? Go back to Isaiah. Read it again. But read it like you read it. Don't change it.
Okay.
Read verse 1 again. That's how he spoke to his people here when he was here. He spoke to them in English. He
Right.
made them think, as you just heard one of the previous followers say, Cyrus. And that's why he used Yahweh. He even said Yahweh ben Yahweh. Why? Because he was speaking of Cyrus. He was speaking in the English mindset and dead. You actually think a white man who put us in slavery, and Nebuchadnezzar is going to save us and deliver us back to our land? Show me in the Bible a white man going to be the Messiah and deliver Judah back to their own land. You can start with Jeremiah chapter 23. Read it again, verse 1.
Isaiah 45:1 quote. Thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus.
First, you have to realize who the anointed is. It doesn't say the anointed ones. To his anointed. That means one will read it and understand. In the last days, no one else will be able to do that. What he said to his anointed, to what?
Whose right hand I have holden.
And he did. He held the Bible up in his right hand. Right? He held the Bible up in his right hand. He held the Bible up in his right hand, Holy Bible, but he had it upside down. And that's why right now you're saying Cyrus. He held the Bible up in his right hand, but he had it upside down. And that's why you're saying Cyrus. And that's why he said Cyrus. Singing behind Cyrus. He sung behind Cyrus. He don't want to come back to his own and sing to God. Psalms chapter 68 verse 4 says, sing unto God. Why are you singing to Cyrus? You can look at that on your own. Psalms chapter 68 verse 4 says, sing unto God. Why are you singing behind the great dragon? Hallel, you think it's Cyrus. Wait till you see what Cyrus has done and what he's going to do. You have read the book called Ezra. Cyrus tricked you. Even came to our own people in Africa and said shalom. Use your own tongue and said shalom. I know it's some land that you can go to. That's the land where he delivered you to, and you didn't even know it. You in the land where he delivered you to. Why? Because he delivered you to Cyrus, upside down. He delivered you to the Amorites, so he can say something to you today. And you stand right behind him with a sign saying you're with him. And then when you put up a sign that will include all who are known as blacks, when you put up a sign that says blacks for Trump, you're speaking for everyone who is so-called by that appellation and by that so-called proverb and byword that's known as African Americans today. You're speaking for all of them. You're speaking for all of those who say they are blacks for Trump. That you say is Cyrus. And not criticize. Read it again like you read it.
Thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him. And I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him to lead the gates, and the gates shall not be shut.
And they will not shut. That means you can leave whenever you want, but you don't refuse to. You don't even know what the leave gates are. Go to your Strong Concordance and click on H3566 and see who the possessor of the furnace is. That's Cyrus. That's what you think is Cyrus. Who possesses the furnace? The same one who you sing behind is the possessor of the furnace that you're going to go through of affliction. And you're in the fire furnace of affliction right now in the United States of America, strange land. That's not yours, it's strangers, from Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. Now click on the robot and get the pronunciation of that. It begins with what? What Hebrew alphabet it begins with?
Kaf.
It begins with Kaf. So why are you saying Cyrus? It begins with Kaf. And what's protecting it? Wow.
Wow. Okay.
With Resh. And also Sheen at the end. It's not even Cyrus. Why? Because Sheen is in the west. That's why you're saying Cyrus. That's why you're saying Cyrus. 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 Right? You're not saying from right to left. You're not saying Kadash. Kadash. That's Kadash. That's Kadash. Well, you opposite. You saying Cyrus. You're saying Cyrus. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Cyrus. Click on the robot. What's the pronunciation?
Strong's H3566. Koresh. Koresh.
Where Cyrus come from? Kodesh. Heard of Sheen. It is with Sheen. And you hung it on sin because you're sinning in the West. And who is it? The possession of. Right. So now you got the furnace. Now you go right back to furnace. Now when you go back to furnace, go your stronger code and put furnace back. Put furnace in the search box. I'm going to go with you. Furnace. How many times is it printed in the Bible?
30 times.
30 times.
30 verses.
30 verses. He mentioned something about Moses too, but I don't know if he played that much.
No, I don't think we got to that point.
Go back for a moment to that clip, if you can stomach it, and play a little bit more until you hear Moses, what it said with Moses.
And that's Isaiah 45, 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And guess what? Trump got the press accuses him of all of those accolades. And he's not afraid. He won't back down. That's my man. And then you can't pay him off. So he's not found wanting. So therefore I stand behind him, because he could just live opulently like Moses could have did the same thing. Well, what did Moses do? He took off his royal robe and jumped in the mud with us. And now he's called a deplorable with us, instead of standing back and marrying Nefertiti and living an opulent life. He could have did that easily. He was living in Mar-a-Lago and having a ball, but he gave up.
Did you hear him mention what Moses did? Moses took off his holy robes. Let me go back for a moment at the beginning of this testimony and tell you that my father first came to this country, came to Miami, of Florida. He first came here in 1979, bearing the appellation and calling himself Moses. Moses Israel. That's who he came here as. And that's what we called him in 1979. We said Ak Moshe. We called him Ak Moshe. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those who were here with me back then, with us, can say right now as they hear this, he's telling the truth. If you go to some of his old books that he was writing, even the first, You Are Not a Nigger, lesson number 1 and 2, Our True History, World's Best Kept Secret book, the yellow book, to the bottom, the pen signature says Moses Israel, Jeremiah 15:16. You just heard a recording of someone that was following him, although you may hear him in the background from time to time on those recordings that my op have on the podium. You can hear him in the background laughing. It's funny, a funny type of laugh. And just for the record, the Christ never went to prison. The one who's known in the Bible is Michael the Archangel, never went to prison. Michael Archangel never went to prison. Michael the Great Prince never went to prison. John the Baptist went to prison, but the Christ never went to prison. He was on trial in front of Pilate, but he never went to prison. He went from trial to crucifixion. Am I right or am I correct?
True.
He just blasphemed Moses. So what did Moses do? Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Standing behind. Sorry, we went back to the furnace. Go. How many times furnace is found?
30 times.
30. Now look at Exodus chapter 9.
Yeah.
Read verse 8.
And the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron,
Right.
take to you handfuls of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it toward the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh.
There must be something with this furnace with ashes in it that's related to free the children of Israel. And Kaf is also there to enforce it. Click on that meaning.
Yeah. So that H 35, 36.
And what does it say? Or did you know that the furnace is also the one to bring you into bondage? Ab used, when he held up his right hand, Ab was using Koresh to bring Judah into bondage.
Yeah.
Not deliver them. You out of your mind. You think your white slave master, the great dragon, is going to deliver you back home, and he's the one who got you over here in bondage.
Yeah.
Look up that furnace.
They have a Clinton.
No. Go to H 35,
33.
33. What you have?
After that we have to subject, subdue, force.
Read the other one. Read the first one.
First one.
To what? You don't see it?
Yeah, let me get back to it. To bring it to bondage.
Okay, now you're right back to Genesis 15:13. Bring them into bondage. Who? Koresh, whose right hand held the Bible upside down that Ab used to bring you into bondage. Not to deliver you back home. Read what to subdue. Do you see subdue, dominate, to tread down? And the last one again is what?
To bring it to bondage.
Bring it to bondage and to keep under. To subject.
Yeah.
That's just two of the 30 meanings of furnace in English. Now we're giving you the original Hebrew. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Look at verse 18. The same meaning. Read verse 18. Chapter 19, sorry. Exodus chapter 19, verse 18. Go to chapter 19.
Mm-hmm. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm.
Now, when you go back to Isaiah chapter 45, it says Koresh, but Koresh is also the what? The possessor of the furnace, and yet you don't see furnace there in that verse, but it is there. Who? By who? Koresh. Right? Now go to chapter 48 of Isaiah, so you can see who that brought you. First, you got brought into bondage under the etymology of Kaf. Right? Now go to chapter 48, so you can see what happened as you were in bondage. Now you should read 15:13 first, Genesis, because it would be what for 40 years. You got to find the word afflicted there. Go back to Genesis 15:13. Read that again.
Yeah. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs,
Right, the Amorites.
and shall serve them,
And what?
and they shall afflict them 400 years.
Now you got afflicted 400 years. Afflicted, right? You should write that. Afflicted 400 years. Now go to chapter 7 of the book called the Acts. They redacted a lot of this after they translated it. That's how William Tyndale and John Wycliffe got their butts burned up, because they redacted, they put it in literally. So those who came after them said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get burned at the stake. So they did a lot of redaction. And now you have all kind of Bibles today that reads differently. NIV, NLT, all these Bibles now read differently. So they break it down so you can read it better. Read Acts chapter 7, verse 6.
Acts 7:6, quote, and God spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land.
That sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Same thing as what?
And that they should bring them into bondage.
There's your bondage. Bring them into bondage.
Yeah. And entreat them evil 400 years.
Right. Now go to Isaiah chapter 48. Now you got afflicted and you got bondage. The same prophecy. The same promise. Now go to Isaiah chapter 48.
Isaiah 48:10, quote.
Read verse 1 first.
Verse 1, quote, hear ye this, O house of Jacob, which are called by the name of Israel, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah, which swear by the name of the Lord, and make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth, nor in righteousness.
You got it? Not in truth. They're a bunch of, Judah's just hard-headed. Read verse 2.
For they call themselves of the holy city, and stay themselves upon the God of Israel. The Lord of hosts is his name.
Read verse 5.
I have even from the beginning declared it to thee.
You see that? What else?
Before it came to pass, I showed it thee, lest thou shouldest say, mine idol have done them, and my graven image and my molten image have commanded them.
Read verse 9.
For my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off.
Now read verse 10.
Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction.
You can't see it right now. You're in the furnace of affliction. From Acts chapter 7, verse 6, and Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. You're in bondage. And what makes you think your slave master is going to deliver you back? And they're the ones who brought you over. Because you don't know Kadesh. You don't know Kadesh. Now you wrote that reference down, which is H50, 30, what was it, 30? 35, 33. Bring it to bondage. How about 35, 64? Go to Ezekiel chapter 22. You have no idea what you asked for, what you think, what you're telling people, that some Cyrus is going to help us to get back to our land. He's going to help the black man. You wear a t-shirt saying, Blacks for Trump. Read that, verse 22. Ezekiel 22.
As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, so shall ye be melted in the midst thereof.
You see, what? That's what you're wishing? And what?
And ye shall know that I, the Lord, have poured out my fury upon you.
And that's what you want? Neer? Remember Neer? Now, this furnace is under H3564. Go to it. No etymology. And you know what it means? You ready?
Wow.
To what?
A furnace, a forge, a smelting furnace or pot.
And that's what you're going to sit in. And now you're in the cauldron pot.
through the quail, they have to bore,
Right.
pierce,
And to
dig,
pierce.
and hew.
Right. Go to Daniel chapter 3. And look at verse 6. And all of Daniel chapter 3 is dealing with this furnace.
And Daniel 3:6 quote,
Mm-hmm.
and whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast
That's the
into
God
midst.
of the Nebuchadnezzar.
Mhm.
Whoever don't worship this God, their God, going to be thrown into the furnace,
Fiery furnace.
the fire furnace. Read on.
Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery,
Music to sing behind him.
yeah, wow,
What?
and all kinds of music,
Mm-hmm.
all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image
The God.
that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up.
And that's what they're doing. They're worshiping the golden image that this president set up. Even the red hat. Let's make America great again.
Yeah.
And they're doing it. This furnace comes from H784. Look at it. That's the etymology of 861. It's going to give you in your concordance 861, but it comes from 784. Go to 861 first.
Simple furnace.
It's a supernatural fire. You don't want that, but go ahead. That's what they want. You want to put my people behind him, for him. Blacks for Cyrus. That's going to free and deliver the children of Israel, help the black man again. Going to help the black man again. What's it say?
Supernatural fire.
Yes.
To eat God's anger.
God's anger. And you think he's happy with you for doing that. That's all of Daniel. The whole chapter 3 of Daniel is the same reference. Go to Matthew chapter 13. Go to Matthew chapter 13. Read verse 40, 41, and 42. That means this week, all of the hard-headed ones that are following one another and following someone because they say it looks good and it's beautiful. And all of them are saying, praise Yahweh ben Yahweh together. Praise Yahweh and Yahweh ben Yahweh. And now you're eating unleavened bread. You think you're in Passover in the same situation you were in Egypt over 3,500 years ago. You think you're free. That you are to observe Passover. And here you are still passing over. Your God, your own God is passed over you right now in anger, and you don't even realize it. And here's the furnace to heat your bread up. Read verse 40, Matthew chapter 13.
As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world.
You got it. Read on.
Verse 41.
41.
The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things
All
that
seven.
offend.
Right. And what?
And them which do iniquity.
Read on.
Verse 42.
42. What?
And shall cast them into a furnace of fire.
Right. And what?
There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth.
You got that? Read verse 50. Read verse 49.
So shall it be at the end of the world.
Excuse me? And where are you now?
At the end of the world.
What's going to happen? Well, read the verse before that. Read 48.
Which, when it was full, they drew to shore and sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away.
Read on.
So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked.
The angel?
Angels.
The angels. The what? And what?
shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just.
And then what?
Verse 50.
50.
And shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Okay. Now, what I did today was I opened the furnace and I fulfilled another seal. I opened another, loosed another seal. Go to Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9. I loosed another seal. Revelation chapter 9. And I loosed that seal with that horn that was blowing that you just read in the trumpet of Matthew. Yeah. But here it is. I'm blowing it with the fifth angel. And that's why I had to identify the angels before when we started earlier in the benediction. I had to introduce those angels, especially Hay, the fifth angel. Hay is the fifth angel and the seventh angel. Now read verse 1, Revelation chapter 9.
Revelation 9:1, quote, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit.
Now that star that's falling from heaven to the earth is me. I'm that star that fell from heaven. And I have the key of, not to, I have the key of the bottomless pit. That means since this pit is bottomless, it will never be an end to it. It's bottomless. Read verse 2.
And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace.
And here it is. That great furnace is the great dragon. Here is that furnace. And what?
And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
Right. Now everybody's darkened and have no idea what they're looking at when they see him because he's a liar. Go back to Isaiah chapter 45, verse 4. We're about to bring this to an end. I had to do this today so you can see what's going on. Go to Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 1. Remember the this is where Matthew 24 come from with the leave gate, you know, the doors, near at the doors. Okay.
Isaiah 45:1, quote, thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. Okay,
now you have Leaved. That means you already leaved out these gates. These leave gates, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You think that the doors of heaven, that's what they want you to believe. Go to the Strong Concordance under H 1802. H1802. These doors just dangling to draw up. Two leaved gates, right?
Yeah.
These gates, you should be in these gates in distress. You left Egypt in distress.
Right.
SED, leaved gates. Which you have. Actually, go to H, just type it in H1809. Here's the etymology of these leaved gates. They are low and you're in distress and languish. Look weakly at the eyes when the sun is dark.
Yeah.
To be brought low and to be made low, to be laid low.
Yeah.
You know what it says?
That's what it says.
To be laid low.
Yeah.
The lead gates. And they're not going to be shut. That means since they're not going to be shut, you have an opportunity to escape. See, Judah mourns in the gates thereof language. They are blackened to the ground. However, the cities of the south shall be shut up, and none shall open them. That means you can't escape that. But you could come out these leave gates and you could come in and out whenever you want. It's up to you. But when you come to the south, I'm going to shut them up and none going to leave. You're not going to want to leave. That's Jeremiah 13:19. You didn't know what that meant. And since they're the leaved gates at the doors, these are the same doors. Now you're right back in Matthew 24 and 33. The doors, even at the doors, these are the doors. in Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 1. That's where the doors are, Matthew.
Wow.
Chapter 24, verse 33. These doors, that's in verse 2. Read verse 2 of Isaiah 45.
Verse 2. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron.
Now, these gates are brass. So you got gates by itself, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go now, explore. Gates.
It's gates, of course. It's gates.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, when you got gates, right?
Yeah.
Okay. These gates come from H8176. And look what it says. Split open like doors. The entrance, the doors to the temple. The etymology is H8176, but it also produced 8179. And these doors are the meeting doors. You come into the tabernacle in a public meeting place. You come inside right here. And they're not going to be shut.
Wow. Yeah.
You're welcome to come in. If I shut them, you won't be. There's a lot that they're not here yet. Now, let's show you. You got that? Now go to the next video on YouTube so we can come bring us a close, because we're going to go for a walk. And let's see who these people are following. Deceive the whole world. I said, let no man deceive you. Now you know who Karash is. You know Cyrus. Never was. The furnace himself.
He saw
Right? The furnace himself. Go to yesterday's news report, the press release of the indictment. The district attorney, state of New York, city of Manhattan, or county of Manhattan, on what happened that has never been since there was a nation, never happened before. A time of trouble.
And now let's hear from the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg.
Here today. Earlier this afternoon, Donald Trump was arraigned on a New York Supreme Court indictment returned by a Manhattan grand jury on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. Under New York state law, it is a felony to falsify business records with intent to defraud and an intent to conceal another crime. That is exactly what this case is about. 34 false statements made to cover up other crimes. These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct. The defendant repeatedly made false statements on New York business records. He also caused others to make false statements. The defendant claimed that he was paying Michael Cohen for legal services performed in 2017. This simply was not true. And it was a false statement that the defendant made month after month in 2017. April, May, June, and so on through the rest of the year. For 9 straight months, the defendant held documents in his hand containing this key lie, that he was paying Michael Cohen for legal services performed in 2017. And he personally signed checks for payments to Michael Cohen for each of these 9 months. In total, the grand jury found there were 34 documents with this critical false statement. Why did Donald Trump repeatedly make these false statements? The evidence will show that he did so to cover up crimes relating to the 2016 election. Donald Trump, executives at the publishing company American Media Incorporated, Mr. Cohen, and others agreed in 2015 to a catch and kill scheme. That is a scheme to buy and suppress negative information to help Mr. Trump's chance of winning the election. As part of this scheme, Donald Trump and others made 3 payments to people who claimed to have negative information about Mr. Trump. To make these payments, they set up shell companies, and they made yet more false statements, including, for example, in AMI, American Media Incorporated's business records. One of the 3 people that they paid to keep quiet was a woman named Stormy Daniels. Less than 2 weeks before the presidential election, Michael Cohen wired $130,000 to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. That payment was to hide damaging information from the voting public. The participant scheme was illegal. The scheme violated New York election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means. The $130,000 wire payment exceeded the federal campaign contribution cap, and the false statements in AMI's books violated New York law. That is why Mr. Trump made false statements about his payments to Mr. Cohen. He could not simply say that the payments were a reimbursement for Mr. Cohen's payments to Stormy Daniels. To do so, to make that true statement, would have been to admit a crime. So instead, Mr. Trump said that he was paying Mr. Cohen for fictitious legal services in 2017 to cover up actual crime committed the prior year. And in order to get Michael Cohen his money back, they planned one last false statement. In order to complete the scheme, they planned to mischaracterize the repayments to Mr. Cohen as income to the New York State tax authorities. The conduct I just described and that which was charged by the grand jury is felony criminal conduct in New York State. True and accurate business records are important everywhere, to be sure. They are all the more important in Manhattan, the financial center of the world. That is why we have a history in the Manhattan DA's office of vigorously enforcing white-collar crime. My office, including the talented prosecutors you saw at arraignment earlier today, has charged hundreds of felony falsifying business records. This charge, it can be said, is the bread and butter of our white-collar work. And fraud presents itself in all different forms here in Manhattan. We have charged falsifying business records for those who violated federal bank secrecy laws. We have charged falsifying business records for those who were seeking to cover up sex crimes. And we have brought this charge for those who committed tax violations. At its core, this case today is one with allegations like so many of our white-collar cases. Allegations that someone lied again and again to protect their interests and evade the laws to which we are all held accountable. As this office has done time and time again, we today uphold our solemn responsibility to ensure that everyone stands equal before the law. No amount of money and no amount of power changes that enduring American principle. I'll now take questions.
Can you imagine this district attorney putting his professional career and his freedom on the line if he was lying, if that was made up? Keeping in mind that he said this came from the grand jury, not himself. And for you who don't know the judicial law, the procedures of the grand jury, they're just made up of citizens that come and hear the evidence, and see evidence and hear the witnesses' testimonies, or whatever state prosecutors or district attorneys have gathered before they bring up an arrest or make an indictment against someone. You have to have evidence. Same as the local police officer on the street. In order to charge someone with a crime and handcuff them and take them to jail, they have to violate the law. You just don't stop, although a lot would like to, just stop someone and I just feel like arresting you, put your hands behind your back and let's go into jail. What's the charge? I think there's something on the way. That's not what happened. Keep in mind that this particular district attorney is succeeding two more before him that were doing the same thing but didn't have enough at the time to indict Donald Trump. He came along and found enough evidence, and more people came forward and said, here's what really happened. And that gave him probable cause to summon the grand jury, and that's where we are today. Now, either he's lying or he's telling the truth. Somebody's telling the truth and somebody's lying.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see who the liar may be. Go ahead and play that one. Now, here is a few hours after that press conference. Here is a few hours after that press conference. Let's hear yours truly himself in his personal conference in his estate here in Florida, in West Palm Beach, Mar-a-Lago. You have that? Okay, play that one. Let's see who's telling the truth.
So here we are. So here we are now. It's where we were today, in a city that was so great just 4 or 5 years ago. But now we're there, spend time there today, as you possibly read, with a local failed district attorney charging a former president of the United States for the first time in history on a basis that every single pundit and legal analyst said, there is no case. There's no case. They kept saying, there's no case. Virtually everyone. But it's far worse than that, because he knew there was no case. That's why last week he delayed for a month and then immediately took that back and threw this ridiculous indictment together. Came out today, everybody said, this is not really an indictment. There's nothing here. My lawyers came to me and they said, there's nothing here. They're not even saying what you did. The criminal is the district attorney because he illegally leaked massive amounts of grand jury information, for which he should be prosecuted, or at a minimum, he should resign. And Alvin Bragg's wife confirmed a report that claimed her husband has Trump nailed on felonies. She has since locked down her Twitter account. His chief prosecutor, who represented the Democrats and crooked Hillary Clinton and a firm run by Chuck Schumer's brother, Robert, he quit the firm in order to go to work in the DA office in order to get Trump. Can you imagine that? Hillary Clinton's lawyer, Democrat firm. Ultimately, he quit as chief prosecutor because Bragg didn't think he had a case. Think of the same guy that brought this ridiculous thing today. Yet during his investigation, this prosecutor named Mark Pomerantz wrote and published a book saying all sorts of privileged things and has been very strongly reprimanded. He was reprimanded so strongly. I've never seen anything.
No, that's enough. Can you imagine? He came right behind the prosecutor, the district attorney of New York, Manhattan, and said he made all that up. So you have a choice who you believe, or who do you amend. Some are going to believe, but then there are a few that's going to amend. Anyway, I think I presented what I had to, what I was told to by my father. This is prophetical fulfillment. There's more than you would have presented, but that's not for those to hear on this social media. Only those that are here with me are going to get those revelations. Well, if you like, I'm going to invite you to write your comments if you like to, or whatever you want to write to us. Here's our post office box. You can write to the Social Lodge of Miami, P.O. Box 472072, right here in Miami, Florida, 33247. You can write and express your comments, if you like, in an envelope, paper, however you like to address. If you like to come, notify us. We'll help you get here. But you should. We suggest that you hurry, though, because the kingdom of Social Lodge is at hand. Not heaven. The Social Lodge. And for all you who are worshiping and following one another with this Passover, that furnace is going to heat up the bread. Did you see that? Did we go over that? Go to the New Testament. Did you see what it says? The furnace for heating bread, the oven for bread. If not, go back to it. Go back once more. Let's show them that. Go to G2575 and let them see this for baking bread. So let's go ahead and bake your unleavened bread. You have it in accordance just before you sign off. See if you see in that Greek lexicon, bake for bread.
A furnace for baking bread.
A furnace for baking bread. So go ahead and bake your unleavened bread this week. Keep baking it. Go to etymology. Go to G 2545. What's that? And go ahead and burn in your own ovens. What?
To set on fire.
Uh-huh.
Light, burning, consumed with fire.
Okay, now go to, as we sign off, go to Malachi chapter 4 and let them see what's coming. What's right here. Read verse 1 and 2. Malachi chapter 4.
Malachi 4:1, quote, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud."
How much of them?
All the proud.
All those that are pride, full of pride. All of them are what?
Yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, said the Lord of hosts.
No, said Micah.
Said the Lord of hosts.
Read verse 2.
But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall.
3.
And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet.
As a result of the furnace being burned. And what?
In the day that I shall do this, said the Lord of hosts.
Okay, that makes it clear. Now you see who's going to do it. They can read the rest of it on your own. I think I made the point loud and clear.
Yeah.
Right? But no doubt.
No doubt.
Anyway, we're going to go back now to our planet. So, happy soaring, angels of Allah.
Yeah.
Praise y'all.
Praise y'all.